What happens when a black father walks into a store to give his son a dream and gets treated like a threat? What happens when the world tells you you're not enough, but you have a promise to keep? Andre Wilson stood outside Altitude Cycles in Denver, Colorado, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. His heart was beating fast, a mixture of anticipation and nerves. Tomorrow was Malik's 10th birthday, and Andre was determined to make it unforgettable. A bike, not just any bike, but a dream bike. Malik had been asking for it for months, a sleek, sky blue mountain bike that would be his pride and joy. Andre didn't have much, but he had enough for this. Enough to keep his word. Inside, the shop smelled like rubber and oil, the air thick with the scent of fresh tires and polished metal. Bikes of all kinds lined the walls, shiny, expensive, and some, like the one Andre wanted, exuding a quiet, irresistible appeal. It stood there in the center, like a beacon, a sky-blue mountain bike with silver accents, a bell that glimmered like it belonged to a trophy winner. Andre's breath caught. He could already see Malik's eyes lighting up. But just as he stepped forward, eager, a sharp voice cut through the air like a whip. "Can I help you? Or are you just here to clean up?" Andre froze. The voice came from a young man behind the counter, Devin. His posture was lazy, his name tag crooked, and his grin one that didn't reach his eyes. The kind of grin that suggested Andre didn't belong. "I'm here to buy a bike," Andre said, his voice calm despite the tension in his chest. "For my son. His birthday's tomorrow." Devin raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "Buy a bike, huh? From here? You know this place isn't exactly bargain central, right? You got $1,200 for that thing." Andre's eyes stayed locked on the bike. He didn't flinch, didn't let the harsh words get to him. He had a promise to keep. That one. Andre pointed at the blue bike, his voice steady, his hand never wavering. Devin snorted, taking a few lazy steps toward him. "Oh, that one. You're looking at a $1,200 price tag. Cash or card? Or are you just going to stand here and pretend?" Andre didn't respond. Instead, he straightened, focusing on his son's face in his mind, imagining the smile he would wear when he finally got the bike. "You sure you can handle it?" Devin's voice dropped, mockingly low. "I've seen guys like you talk big, act tough, but then the car bounces. Ever been to a thrift store? They got bikes for $20 there. You might actually afford one of those." The word stung, but Andre stayed calm. He'd spent his life brushing off the ignorant stares, the comments from people who assumed he couldn't afford things just because of the color of his skin. "I'm not here to argue," Andre said softly, his voice just above a whisper. "I'm here to buy that bike." Devin smirked, his posture shifting to something more confrontational. "You're out of your damn mind, aren't you? $50 maybe? What's it gonna be, huh? Gonna pay with food stamps?" The room seemed to freeze. Even the mechanic in the back, holding a wrench, paused and looked over, sensing the tension rising to Andre's eyes didn't leave Devin's face. There was no flinch, no hesitation. His mind flashed to Malik, eagerly waiting at home, asking his mom if he was really getting the bike he'd been dreaming about. This moment, this promise, was everything. "I'm not leaving," Andre said, his voice low and controlled, the calm before storm. "You're not stopping me from buying that bike." Devin's eyes narrowed, and he took a step forward. "You don't belong here. If you don't leave, I'm calling security." Andre didn't move. He was a man of his word. "Call whoever you want. Get your manager." Devin hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "Manager's not here. I'm the boss today, so unless you want to get thrown out, you better leave." Without missing a beat, Andre reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. His fingers moved swiftly over the screen, dialing a name. Devin sneered. "Who? You calling?" "Your cousin." But Andre didn't respond. He dialed a number and waited. The phone rang once, then twice. A third time, and then the line clicked. "Greg? It's Andre. I'm at the shop, and your employee here is telling me I don't belong. He's mocking me, threatening to call the cops. I'm trying to buy a bike for my son." There was a pause on the other end. Then Greg Palmer's voice came through firm. "I'm on my way. 5 minutes." Andre slid his phone back into his pocket and leaned against the rack of helmets, not once looking at Devin. The tension in the room thickened, and still, Devin paced behind the counter, muttering under his breath. His bravado was beginning to crack. Liam, the mechanic, stepped forward cautiously. "You all right, man?" Andre gave a small nod. He was fine. The world could judge him all it wanted, but he wasn't backing down. Not today. Then the bell above the door chimed. Greg Palmer entered, his gaze immediately locking with Andre's. "What's going on here?" Andre pointed at Devin without saying a word. Greg turned, his eyes narrowing as he focused on the young clerk. "Is that true, Devin?" The atmosphere in the store shifted instantly. The tension was palpable, and for the first time, Devin's confidence faltered. The air in the shop was thick with tension, stretching between the customers and employees like an electric charge. Andre stood firm, his feet planted on the floor, eyes locked on Devin, the smug clerk who had mocked him moments before. His heart pounded, steady yet fierce. Everything in him wanted to lash out, to let the anger break free, but he kept it controlled. Devin, behind the counter, paled, his hands fidgeting as he stammered, I didn't know who you were. I thought you were just some guy wasting my time." His voice faltered, but his arrogance lingered as if nothing had just happened. Greg Palmer, the shop owner, stepped forward, closing the distance between himself and Devin. His face was cold, his jaw clenched. "Waste your time." Greg's voice was sharp, cutting through the air. "You think you can insult a customer just because you don't think he belongs here?" Devin opened his mouth, but no words came out. His eyes darted to Andre, who stood silently, a quiet strength radiating from him. "I didn't mean it that way," Devin mumbled, his tone defensive. "I was just trying to show who's in charge here." "Try to show who's in charge," Greg repeated, his fury beginning to boil. "You don't get to decide who belongs and who doesn't. Not in my shop." Andre's gaze remained unshaken. He hadn't said a word yet, but his mere presence was enough. Every part of him demanded respect. "It's not just about me," Andre said, his voice low but commanding. "It's about how you let your employees treat people, the way they talk down to anyone who doesn't fit their idea of who belongs." His words lingered in the air, each one weighted with meaning. Greg's face tightened as the realization hit him. He turned back to Devin, narrowing his eyes. "Do you know who this man is?" he asked, his voice dripping with contempt. "Do you understand what you just done?" Devin blinked, his hands gripping the counter tightly. I don't know. Who is he?" Greg let out a bitter laugh. "You really don't know? This is Andre Wilson. He helped fund this shop. He's a partner here. His name's on the lease, and you just insulted him like he's some nobody off the street." Devin's face went white as the gravity of his mistake hit him. His knees buckled, and he gripped the counter for support. Liam, the mechanic, had been silently watching the exchange unfold. He let out a low whistle, glancing between Greg and Andre, realizing just how much he hadn't known about Andre's involvement. Devin, on the other hand, was slowly sinking under the weight of his ignorance. Andre didn't gloat. He didn't need to. The truth was enough to tear away Devin's arrogance. He spoke again, his tone calm but resolute. "It's not just about me," he said, looking directly at Devin. "It's about the people you've pushed aside, the ones you've looked down on just because you thought you could. That ends today." Greg moved closer, his finger pointing sharply at Devin. "You're not just fired, Devin," he said, his voice rising in anger. "I'm done with you. I'll call every shop in the Carolinas. No one will hire you. I'll file a complaint with the retail board. Pull your certification. You'll be lucky to bag groceries after this." He stepped closer to Devin, his eyes unwavering. "Now get your stuff and leave. Or I'll call the cops, just like you threatened Andre." Devin's face twisted in panic, his voice shaky. "Greg, I didn't mean it that way. I was just trying to—" Greg slammed his fist down on the counter, making Devin flinch. "You were just trying to show who you are, weren't you? Well, now everyone knows. Get your jacket and get out of my shop." Shaking, Devin grabbed his jacket from the back of the counter, knocking over a stack of flyers in the process. He mumbled a string of apologies, but no one was listening. He staggered toward the door, stopping briefly as if to say something more. But Andre's steady gaze held him in place, silencing any further words. The door swung open, and the bell jingled as Devin stepped out, his steps unsteady as he left for good. Greg exhaled slowly, his anger deflating. He turned to Andre, his expression softening. I'm sorry, Andre. I didn't know he was that bad. Andre nodded, his face unreadable. It's not just him, Greg. It's what you've allowed to grow here. Fix it. Greg's jaw clenched, but he nodded in agreement. I'll take care of it. Starting tomorrow. Full staff overhaul. Bias training. No more excuses. Andre's eyes fell on the blue bike, the one that had caught his attention when he first entered the shop. Good, he said, his tone firm. Now, I want that bike for my son. Greg nodded and motioned for Darius, the mechanic, to box it up. On the house. Andre shook his head. No, I'm paying for it. It's for Malik. His gift. The transaction was quick and smooth. No further words exchanged. Darius and Greg moved respectfully, no questions asked. Darius loaded the bike into Andre's SUV, muttering, should have said something sooner. Won't stay quiet next time. Andre met his eyes. That's enough for now. As they drove home through the winding streets of Denver, Andre's mind quieted. Malik's joy was all that mattered now. He had made a promise, and he had kept IT home. Malik was already bouncing around, full of excitement for his birthday. Lisa was busy decorating, her smile lighting up the room when she saw the bike. You got it? She asked, her voice full of hope. Andre nodded. Got it. Lisa's eyes flashed with understanding. What happened? Andre shrugged. Clerk. Mouth off. Thought I was broke. Got himself blacklisted. Lisa's face softened. Serves him right. You good? Andre squeezed her hand. Good enough. Later, as the party unfolded in laughter and joy, Andre reflected on the day. He had fought for his son, for respect, for dignity. The lesson was clear. Stand tall, no matter who tries to bring you down. And in that moment, surrounded by family, he knew no matter what life threw his way, he would never stop standing tall.